Ambassador E had seen many worlds in his long life. He had watched young species take their first steps into the stars. He had guided them, taught them, and brought them into the great family of the Galactic Council. It was easy work. Most species were grateful. Most species were weak. The blue planet ahead looked no different from 100 others. His ship, the graceful Dawn, moved through the outer edge of the solar system. The crew worked quietly at their stations. This was a routine mission. The Council had detected primitive radio signals from this world nearly 60 years ago. Simple broadcasts, music, voices. Nothing special. He stretched his forearms and looked at the main screen. The planet grew larger as they approached. It had one moon, one yellow sun. Water covered most of its surface, a typical garden world. Ambassador said his navigator, a young female named Na, I am picking up something strange. E walked to her station. What is it? There is a structure behind the fourth planet's largest moon. It is very large. A space station already. E felt a small flicker of surprise. The radio signals had suggested a primitive civilization. Factories, ground vehicles perhaps. Early flight, but space stations. That was faster than expected. Run a full scan, he ordered. The ship's sensors reached out across the void. Data flowed across the screens. E watched the numbers change. Then he stopped breathing. The structure was not a space station. It was a ship. That cannot be correct, he whispered. Run the scan again. Nuz's hands trembled as she obeyed. The results came back the same. The vessel behind the moon was over 4 km long. Its hull was thick and covered in weapons. Massive cannons lined its side. Smaller turrets dotted its surface like scales on a beast. The ship was dark and angular, built not for beauty but for war. Nothing in the Galactic Council's fleet looked like this. Nothing came close. Ambassador News said, her voice shaking. It is moving. The giant ship emerged from behind the moon. It moved slowly like a predator that knew it had no reason to hurry. Lights flickered along its hull. Weapon ports opened, and then it stopped, hanging in the darkness of space, waiting. E's 3 hearts pounded in his chest. He had never felt fear like this, not once in 200 years of life. Scan the hole, he said. Find identifying marks. The computer translated the symbols painted on the ship's side. The words appeared on the screen in the common language of the Council. UNC Atlas Titan class. Dreadnought. What is UNC? Na asked. E did not answer. He was staring at the ship, trying to understand what he was seeing. The species on that blue planet was supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be burning dead plants for fuel. They were supposed to need guidance and protection. They were not supposed to have this communication signal. Lit up his console. The humans were calling. Open the channel, he said. A face appeared on the screen. It was a female of the species. She had dark hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes were brown and calm. She wore a uniform of black and gold. Behind her, he could see other humans working at stations filled with lights and screens. This is Captain of the United Nations Space Command Vessel Atlas, the female said. You have entered human space. Please identify yourself and state your purpose. He tried to find his voice. I am Ambassador E of the Collective. I represent the Galactic Council. We detected your radio signals many years ago. We came to make contact. The human captain nodded slowly. We No, we detected your long reign. Scanners 32 years ago, we have been watching you approach for quite some time. 32 years. They had known for 32 years. And in that time they had built this. The Galactic Council welcomes all species who reach for the stars, he said, falling back on old words he had spoken many times before. We offer guidance, protection, a place among the great family of. We do not need protection, Captain said. Her voice was not angry. It was simply stating a fact. Earth protects itself, but we are open to peaceful contact, trade, exchange of knowledge, friendship if it is offered. Honestly, he looked at the massive ship filling his screen. Friendship, the word felt strange when spoken in the shadow of such a weapon. I must return to the council, he said. I must report what I have found here. Of course, the captain said. Safe travels, Ambassador. And please tell your council something. For me, what is that? The human female leaned forward slightly. Her eyes were steady and unafraid. Tell them that Earth is not a colony. It is not a territory to be claimed. It is not a child to be guided. We are humanity. We have fought for our survival since before we could write our own names. We built this ship not because we knew you were coming, but because we knew someone might, and we decided long ago that we would never be caught unprepared. She smiled. It was a small smile, but there was something hard underneath it. We look forward to meeting your council on equal terms. The communication ended. The screen went dark. He stood in silence for a long moment. Then he turned to his crew. Set a course for home, he said quietly. Maximum speed. As the graceful dawn turned and fled back toward council space, he looked one last time at the human dreadnought. It had not moved. It had not chased them. It simply waited. Like a guardian standing at the gate. He had come to find a primitive species. He had found something else entirely. And he was very, very afraid. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had stood for 50,000 years. Its walls were made of stone taken from 12 different. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds sometimes formed beneath it. 12 species had built this place together, and for 12,000 generations they had governed the known galaxy from within its ancient halls. Today the chamber was filled with fear. Ambassador E stood at the center of the floor. Above him, arranged in a great circle, sat the representatives of the 12 elder species. Their faces showed shock, disbelief, horror. On the massive screen behind E, the image of the Atlas hung frozen in space. 4 kilometers of dark metal and weapons, a monster born from a world they had dismissed as primitive. This is impossible, said General of the Dominion. He was a massive creature, covered in thick scales and natural armor. His people were warriors. They had conquered 100 worlds before joining the council. They feared nothing, but Evan's voice wavered as he looked at the human ship. The scan data is accurate, he replied. I checked it many times. The vessel is real. Its weapons are real, and according to the human captain, it is only one of 7. Silence fell over the chamber. 7 ships like this, 7 monsters. How? Asked elder of her species was ancient and peaceful. They had given up war before humans had learned to make fire. How could such a young species build such things? They have only been in space for what, 100 of their years? Less than that, he said. Their first moon landing was barely a century ago. By Their count, but they learned of our approach 32 years ago. They saw our scanner signals and they prepared. Prepared, General laughed, but there was no humor in it. They did more than prepare. They built weapons that make our entire fleet look like children's toys in 30 years. Impossible. High Chancellor raised one thin hand. The chamber fell silent, was the oldest of them all, over 3,000 years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had guided the council through wars and plagues and disasters. Nothing surprised him anymore. But today even looked troubled. Show us the rest, he said. Quietly, show us everything the human captain said. He activated the recording. Captain's face appeared on the screen. Her words filled the chamber. Earth is not a colony. We have fought for our survival since before we could write our own names. We will never be caught unprepared. When the recording ended, closed his eyes. This species, he said slowly, built weapons of this size and power. Before they even knew we existed, they prepared for war against an enemy they had never met. They looked up at the stars and saw not wonder, not possibility, but danger. He opened eyes and looked around the chamber. What kind of species does this? No one answered. I will tell you, continued. A species that has known war, not small wars, not border conflicts, true war. The kind that kills millions, the kind that burns cities and poisons the land, and leaves scars that last for generations. He pointed at the image of the Atlas. That ship was not built by a peaceful people. It was built by survivors, by species that has stared into the darkness and learned to fight back. They did not build it to attack us. They built it because they believed in their hearts that the universe would try to destroy them, and they refused to let it. General slammed his fist against his seat. Then we must strike first before they grow stronger. We have numbers. We have experience. We can what? He interrupted. You saw the scan data, General. That single ship carries more firepower than your entire home fleet. Its armor is made of materials we cannot identify. Its engines produce energy levels we cannot explain, and there are 6 more like it we know nothing about. Their true capabilities, argued. Perhaps the ship is a bluff, a hollow shell, meant to frighten us. It is not a bluff, said a new voice. Everyone turned. Small figure stepped forward from the section. It was Scholar, one of the finest scientific minds in the galaxy. She carried a data tablet in her thin hands. I have analyzed the energy readings from the human vessel, she said. The power core alone produces more output than our 3 largest space stations combined. The weapon signatures match nothing in our records, but based on the radiation patterns, I believe they use magnetically accelerated projectiles traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. She looked up at the council. If that ship fired on this station, we would be dead before we knew we were under attack. This is not a bluff. This is the most dangerous machine our galaxy has ever seen, and the humans built it in 30 years while we were not paying attention. The chamber was silent. High Chancellor stood slowly. We will not attack, he said firmly. General, your warriors are brave, but bravery cannot stop a weapon like this. We will seek peace. We will invite the humans to Prime for proper diplomatic talks. We will learn more about them before we decide our next move. And if they refuse, ask, then we will wait, replied. We have lived for 50,000 years by being patient. We can Wait a little longer, the council voted. The invitation was approved. A message was sent to Earth, but as the representatives left the chamber, each of them carried the same thought in their minds. They had ruled this galaxy for so long. They had believed themselves the masters of the stars. Now a young species from an unremarkable world had shown them something they had forgotten. The universe was still full of surprises, and some surprises had very big guns. Prime was the largest space station in the galaxy. It floated in neutral space, far from any. For thousands of years it had served as a meeting place for species who did not trust each other. Its halls had seen peace treaties signed and wars declared. Its walls had heard a million secrets. Today it trembled. The Atlas dropped out of faster than light travel at the edge of the system. It was not alone. Two smaller vessels flanked it, each one larger than any warship the Council had ever built. Together the three human ships moved toward the station like wolves approaching a campfire. Inside Prime, the representatives of 12 species watched the approach on giant screens. No one spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of machines and the rapid beating of many hearts. Captain led the human delegation through the station's main corridor. She wore her dress uniform, black with gold trim. Behind her walked 5 other officers. They carried no visible weapons, but their eyes were sharp and alert. Council had prepared a welcome ceremony. Ancient music played. Dancers from 6 different worlds performed traditional greetings. Flowers from a dozen planets filled the air with sweet smells. Watched politely, she clapped when appropriate. She smiled when introduced to various officials, but there was something in her manner that made every alien nervous. She was calm in a way that felt dangerous, like still water hiding deep currents. The ceremony ended. The council led the humans to the Grand Assembly Hall. The room was arranged in a circle with raised platforms for each species. The 12 elder races sat in positions of honor at the highest level. Below them sat the younger species, arranged by age and status. At the very bottom, barely above the floor, was a small table with simple chairs. This is the observer section, explained an official. New species traditionally sit here during their first summit. Looked at the tiny table, then she looked up at the towering platforms above. Every alien in the room was watching her, waiting to see how she would react to this insult. She smiled. "Thank you," she said simply, and sat down. Her officers joined her without complaint. They seemed completely unbothered by the arrangement. This confused the council greatly. They had expected anger, demands, wounded pride. Instead, the humans acted as if the seating did not matter at all. The summit began. For 3 hours the council explained its history, its laws, its traditions. Representatives from each species spoke about their achievements, their cultures, their contributions to galactic civilization. It was a display of power meant to humble the newcomers. Finally, High Chancellor turned to the human table, and now he said, "We would hear from our guests. Tell us about your people, Captain. Tell us what humanity brings to the galactic community." The room fell silent. "We bring many things," she said. "Art, music, literature, science, medicine. We have much to offer in trade and cooperation. We seek knowledge and friendship." "Friendship?" General laughed from his platform. "You come to our station with warships that could destroy us all, and You speak of friendship, your words are sweet human, but your actions tell a different story. Looked up at the general. Her face showed no anger. You want to know our story? She asked. Quietly, very well, let me show you. She pressed a button on a small device. The room's central display activated. Images began to appear. The council saw trenches filled with soldiers. They saw machines rolling across mud, crushing everything beneath them. They saw cities burning, bodies stacked like wood, children crying in the ruins of their homes. This is called the First World War, said. It happened over 100 years ago. 17 million dead. The images changed. More war, bigger explosions, camps surrounded by wire, ovens burning day and night. The Second World War, 70 million dead. More images, a mushroom cloud rising over a city, shadows burned into stone. A world holding its breath. This is what we did to ourselves, continued, not to aliens, not to enemies from beyond the stars. We did this to our own brothers and sisters. We killed each other by the millions. We invented new ways to cause suffering. We looked into the darkness of our own souls and found monsters waiting there. The display showed the atlas under construction, thousands of humans working together, ships rising from shipyards, weapons being tested in the emptiness of space. And then 30 years ago we detected your scanners. We realized we were not alone in the universe, looked around the silent chamber. We did not build the atlas because we are conquerors. We built it because we know what we are capable of. We have seen the worst of ourselves. We have survived it. And we decided that no one would ever make us victims, not our own kind, not anyone else. She turned to face General directly. You called us hatchlings playing with fire. You were wrong. We are not playing with fire, General. We were born in fire. We have burned ourselves so many times that we have learned to live in the flames. You see our ships and feel fear. Good, that fear will keep you from making the mistake of attacking us. She sat down. We do not want war. We are tired of war. We have had enough war to last 1,000 lifetimes, but if war comes to us, we will fight and we will win. Because that is what humans do. We survive, we adapt, we overcome. The chamber was completely silent. General stared at the human captain, his mouth opened then closed. He had no words. For the first time in his long life, he understood what he was dealing with, and he was wise enough to be afraid. General stood in his private chamber aboard his flagship. His scales were dark with anger. His claws dug into the metal table before him, leaving deep scratches. The summit had ended 3 days ago. Humans had left Prime with promises of future talks and cooperation. The council had treated them with respect. Some representatives had even seemed impressed by the strange creatures from the blue world. Was not impressed. He was humiliated. The human captain had stood in the grand assembly and lectured the council like they were children. She had shown images of primitive wars fought with crude weapons. She had spoken of suffering and survival as if these things made her people special. The Dominion had conquered 100 worlds. They had crushed species far older and wiser than humanity, and now because of one large ship, everyone was supposed to bow before these newcomers. Null refused. He opened a communication channel to his most trusted commanders. 3 faces appeared on his screen. 3 warriors who had fought beside him. For centuries, the humans are returning to their set. Their path takes them through the hollow nebula. We will wait for them there. The council has ordered peace, one commander said carefully. The council is weak, replied. They fear what they do not understand, but I have studied the human ship. Its size is its weakness. It cannot move quickly. It cannot dodge attacks. We will hit it from 3 sides at once, disable its engines, capture its technology, and when we present the prize to the council, they will thank us for our courage. The commanders nodded. They lived for battle, and they believed in their general. 3 battle cruisers of the Dominion entered the hollow nebula and waited. The Atlas arrived 2 days later. Captain was in her quarters when the alarm sounded. She was on the bridge in 30 seconds. Her crew was already at battle stations. Report, she said. 3 battle cruisers, said her tactical officer. They just dropped out of FTL and are moving to surround us. Weapons are charging. Looked at the tactical display. The ships were large by galactic standards. Each one was about half a kilometer long. Together they probably thought they had enough firepower to threaten the Atlas. They were wrong. Open a channel, ordered. General's face appeared on screen. He was smiling. Human captain, he said. Your impressive speeches at the summit meant nothing here in the darkness. Between stars, only strength matters. Surrender your vessel, and you will be treated well. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Studied the alien general for a long moment. General, she said calmly, I'm going to give you one chance to leave. Turn your ships around and go home. This does not have to end in violence. Laughed. You threaten me. You are surrounded. You are outnumbered. Your ship may be large, but size alone does not win battles. No, agreed. Preparation wins battles. Experience wins battles. And General, my people have been fighting wars for 10,000 years. We have refined the art of killing to a level your species cannot imagine. She leaned forward. Final warning, leave now or face the consequences. Cut the channel. His fleet opened fire. Plasma beams and missiles streaked toward the Atlas from 3 directions. The space around the human ship lit up with deadly energy. Any normal vessel would have been torn apart in seconds. Atlas was not a normal vessel. Its point defense systems activated. Thousands of small turrets tracked incoming missiles and destroyed them before they could hit. The plasma beam struck the ship's armor and dispersed harmlessly. The Atlas shook slightly but took no damage. Then it returned fire. The main spoke. Massive metal slugs accelerated too. Incredible speeds crossed the distance to the ships in the blink of an eye. The first battle cruiser's shields shattered. Like glass, the slugs punched through its hull and out the other side. Ship broke apart, spilling atmosphere and bodies into the void. Time of destruction 4 seconds. The second cruiser tried to turn and run. The Atlas escort frigates cut off its escape. Their own opened fire, smaller than the ship's weapons but still devastating. The cruiser's engines exploded, then its reactor, then everything else. Time of destruction 3 seconds. The third cruiser's flagship rammed its engines to maximum and charged straight at the Atlas. It was a desperate attack. A suicide run. Hoped to crash his ship into the human vessel and take it with him. The Atlas moved. Its massive bulk shifted sideways with speed that should have been impossible for something so Large, the flagship missed by less than 100 meters as it passed every weapon. On the Atlas fired at once. When the light faded, nothing remained of General or his ship. Time of destruction 2 seconds. Total battle duration 11 minutes, including the conversation. Captain looked at the debris floating in space. Thousands of warriors dead. 3 warships destroyed. An entire attack force eliminated without a single human casualty. She felt no joy, only sadness. Open a channel to all frequencies, she said. Her message went out to every ship and station in range. This is Captain of the UNC Atlas. We came in peace. We offered friendship and we were attacked. The Dominion made a choice today. They chose violence. They chose wrong. She paused. Let this serve as a message to anyone who thinks humanity is weak. We are not conquerors. We do not seek war. But if war is brought to us, we will answer with everything we have. We remember every battle we have ever fought. We learn from every enemy we have ever faced, and we do not lose. She ended the transmission. The Atlas continued toward Earth. Behind it, the wreckage of the fleet drifted silently among the stars. A new age had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months passed. The Dominion, from galactic politics, their new leaders, sent apologies to humanity and to the Council. General was declared a criminal and a fool. His name was erased from history. No one spoke of him again. Other species watched and learned. Trade agreements were signed. Human ships began appearing at stations across the galaxy. Scientists exchanged knowledge. Artists shared their work. Slowly, carefully, humanity stepped into the larger universe. But everyone remembered the hollow nebula. Everyone remembered what happened to those who challenged the young species from Earth. High Chancellor requested a personal meeting with Captain. He wished to deliver an important message in person. The Council had made a decision, and he wanted humanity to hear it from the oldest voice in the galaxy. The Atlas waited in orbit above Earth. The blue planet turned slowly below, clouds swirling over oceans and continents. It was a beautiful world, small, fragile, precious. Shuttle docked with the human ship. He walked through corridors of metal and light, past crew members who nodded respectfully but did not bow. These humans treated everyone as equals. It was strange but refreshing. Captain met him at the observation deck. The largest window on the ship looked down at Earth. The view was stunning. Welcome aboard, Chancellor said. Studied the human woman. She looked tired. Battle with the head changed her, not broken her, but added weight to her shoulders. She carried the deaths of thousands of enemy warriors, even though they had attacked first. You feel guilt? Said it was not a question. Nodded slowly. They gave us no choice, but I still wish it had ended differently. That is why I am here, replied. That is why the Council has made its decision. He reached into his robe and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with soft light. This is an invitation, he said. The Galactic Council wishes humanity to join as a full member, not an observer, not a junior partner, a full and equal voice in the governance of known space. Took the crystal. She held it up to the light, watching the colors dance inside. We are the youngest species ever offered this honor, she said. You are. Agreed, and also the most remarkable. In all my years, I have never seen a people like yours. You terrify us, Captain. I will not pretend otherwise. but you also give us hope. Hope looked surprised. We showed your council images of our worst atrocities. We fought a battle that lasted less than 12 minutes. What hope can come from that? Walked to the window. He looked down at Earth, studying its continents and oceans. Your species is young, he said slowly. Your star is common. Your world is small, and yet you built the atlas. You reached for the stars before you knew what waited there. You prepared for war against enemies you had never met. Why? He turned to face her. That question has haunted the council since your Ambassador E returned with his report. Why would any species do such a thing? Why build weapons of such power without a target? And now, after watching you for these months, I finally understand. He placed one thin hand against the window. You did not build these ships out of hatred. You built them out of love. Love for your world, love for your children, love for a future you were determined to protect, no matter the cost. Your wars were terrible, yes, but they taught you something that we elder races have forgotten. What is that? Asked. That survival is not enough, said the council has survived for 50,000 years by being careful, by avoiding risks, by hiding from danger, but your people do not hide. You face the darkness head on. You fight for what matters to you, and when the fight is over, you do not celebrate. You mourn, you question, you try to be better. He smiled. It was a rare expression on his ancient face. That is why you give us hope. You remind us what it means to truly live. Not just to exist, but to struggle and grow and reach for something greater. We have been sleeping for too long, Captain. Perhaps humanity will help us wake up. Was quiet for a long moment, then she looked down at her world. We have made so many mistakes, she said softly. Wars, genocides, environmental destruction. We nearly killed our own planet before we learned to take care of it. Sometimes I wonder if we deserve to be out here among the stars. Stood beside her. Perhaps you do not, he said gently, but here you are anyway, and that is what matters. You survived your mistakes. You learned from them, and now you have a chance to do better, to be the species you always wished you could be. He gestured at the atlas around them. This ship is a symbol of your fear, but it is also a symbol of your determination. You built it together as one people. You set aside your differences to face a common threat. If you can do that against an unknown enemy, imagine what you could do as partners with the rest of the galaxy. Looked at the crystal in her hand, the invitation, a seat at the table that had governed known space for 50,000 years. We will accept, she said finally, but we will not change who we are. We will not pretend to be perfect. We will make mistakes. We will have disagreements. And if anyone threatens us or our allies, we will fight. Nodded. We would expect nothing less. They stood together, the ancient chancellor and the human captain, looking down at the small blue world that had produced such an extraordinary species. The galaxy would never be the same. Old empires would have to make room for new voices. Old assumptions would have to be questioned. Old fears would have to be faced. But for the first time in a very long time, the future seemed bright. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, and they were just getting started.